Three, two, one, and here we go. My name is Lerod Smalls, and yes, this is Rise of the Black Warrior podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in today, checking us out. Now, hopefully you're watching this, but if you are not, I'm going to do my very best today to describe it. What are we doing in this podcast? So I'm in the studio, which is AKA my office, sitting at my desk. This is the same desk I do all my work on, and I deliver this conversation right into a little microphone so that you guys can hear me, whether you're in your car or you checking me out. I want to do my best to share some ideas with you that could empower you, to give you power, because that's really what we're all about. Here at Rise of the Black Warrior, we are all about power, how to have more of it. Where is it? Who's got it? How can I transfer it from one thing that is not powerful to something that is powerful? And the conversation we're going to talk about today is about power and gaining power through something that some men don't want to experience. Some men do their best to hide away from it, and that is collision. That is actually colliding. That is having an argument, having a fight, going against the grain, you know, being in a space where there's conflict. And I want you to understand something, that conflict is not always a bad thing. I mean, without a collision, without breaking something, without forcing something to change, there is no change. I mean, if you want breakfast, you got to break some eggs, or you got to do some, you've got to break something. You've got to heat something up. You've got to chop something down. Right? You want vegetables, you got to still cut the vegetable. There's got to be a cut there, a collision at some point. So from that minute perspective, all the way up to what we're going to talk about today, it's all about collision and how it grows. So sitting on my desk, I have these two figurines. I'm all about Black Panther. All right. I love the movie, and not just because it's Marvel, which I love Marvel too, and the whole idea of superheroes. I love this character, Black Panther, for everything that he represents. And I'll be talking about that more and more in the future all the time. But I'm all about Black Panther because he was a warrior king. The difference between a king that is a royalty king and a warrior king is a royalty king becomes king because of his lineage, because he has royal blood, because it was passed down to him by somebody else. Now, imagine at your job, somebody at your job that you looking at, that you wondering, how the hell did you get that goddamn position? Like, you didn't earn that position. Somebody you know gave you that position. Now, sometimes royalty passes on to somebody who's deserving. It does. But is it still earned? And the thing I love most about the Black Panther series and the character itself is that he is a king that goes out and actually does the work. He does the war. He's willing to step in line. He's not going to send somebody to do something he's not willing to do himself, and it's all about collision. Now, on my desk today, I have two figurines. I've got the Black Panther here on the right, and I've got Killmonger on the left. Now, truthfully, I mean, the symbolism is crazy because there's two sides of the same type of man, right? One man that sees a situation and is hiding from it, which really is Tchalla, which is the Black Panther, and Killmonger, right? Who was seeing the same type of situation differently. His results were, hey, let's go to war and destroy everybody who is not powerful, not like us, that has oppressed us. Where Tchalla is like, listen, we got our thing figured out, and we're doing good here in our little box. We'll help when we can, but ultimately, let's just care about ourselves and stay in a little box. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody, but if you haven't seen the movie by now, I mean, goddamn, go see the movie. But it really is about a collision of personas, a collision of ideals, and all of the characters represented a certain ideal. And I really want you guys to see that there was a collision that had to happen in order to create the man who Tchalla, the king, who is the Black Panther, to become. He could not have become the king that he is now if he had not gone through the conflict with Killmonger. See, conflict produces a change. And sometimes that change is what's necessary. And many of us have been hiding from some of the most dramatic conflicts that could occur in our lives because we don't want to experience the pain that's going to be caused in the conflict. But the truth is, experiencing that pain causes us to die from who we are and gives birth to who we will be. It is in that conflict that we are finding ourselves and the clarity of who we are because we're facing a mirror. Do we really believe what we say we're standing up for and what we really are saying? See, when you're challenging someone, when you're in the middle of a fight, you have to defend every single part of what it is that you truly believe. And it really puts you in a space where you now have to confront. You have to actually confront that person who you say you are. Because you're standing up for an ideal. You're standing up for what you believe. But that person is challenging you. If you say, hey, listen, man, you believe in this particular thing. All right, well, tell me why. And you got to answer the questions. I'm going to give you the hard questions. Or, hey, listen, man, we're going to have a conflict about this particular thing. You standing up to say that we can't do this or we are going to do that. Tell me why and stand up to it. And here's the hard questions. And sometimes you need to tell somebody what you think. And even if they're not going to like it, they need to hear it. They need to know it so that you can clearly get out your point and then now leave behind what it is that was. See, some of us are carrying baggage because we don't want to step in. We don't want to be the person who we were. So we're just going to carry around. We don't want to become something new. So we're just going to carry around something old to make that more clear. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Something that I learned, and I taught this to my son, is that we cannot care about what other people think about us and what we do and who we are. It is very important to use our tribe and use the men that hold us accountable as mirrors to see ourselves. But we cannot allow no one else to define who we are and what we believe. See, I look at people like traffic cones. And I taught this to my son. I'm going to share this idea with you. See, a traffic cone has only importance if you give it importance. A traffic cone is recognized because I recognize it. But other than that, it really has no power. What is a traffic cone? A traffic cone is a small piece of rubber, maybe 2 feet high, 3 feet high, right? No matter where you're at, they're probably either yellow or orange. They're soft. You in your car, you could drive right over them. You can do whatever you want to do with them because a traffic cone is really not a formidable object. But what it's designed to do is to be a placeholder so that you know, hey, don't cross here, or here's attention to that, or don't come in this area, whatever it may be. And the reason why people will not come into that area is because we acknowledge the force that put the traffic cone there. If a police officer places the traffic cones there, then you look at it, you acknowledge it and say, hey, listen, I am moving out the way via this traffic cone because of the authority of the police or the authority of the energy company that placed it there or the construction company that placed it there. So I know not to drive in that space. But you're doing it based on the belief in the authority and the trust that you have in the company or the person that placed it there. But if you do not have trust, belief, or respect for that authority, you could run the cone over. Now, when you're faced with a cone, you have a couple of options. You could run it over, you could ignore it and walk away, or you could move it and pick it up and place it somewhere else. But the choice is up to you, and it's based on how you perceive it. Now, how is this relevant to the conversation? Because when you're faced with a collision, when you're faced with someone, they are placing a cone there. And you have a choice to say, hey, listen, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to avoid it and act like it doesn't exist? Do I want to have the collision and run the damn thing over? Or do I want to pick it up and move it out the way and place it somewhere else? That's your choice. See, we have choices in our lives that can determine where we are. We have those choices. And it's up to us to exercise our power when we're faced with those choices. I hope that you guys today are like Tchalla, willing to take on any conflict, collide even at the highest level sometimes. Kings, men, it is up to us to collide at the highest levels if we're going to lead our families. Black men, It is our time to collide at the highest levels with our neighbors, with our environment, with drug dealers in the neighborhood, with anybody. It doesn't matter. With the school system, if they're not supporting your children, with anyone, with the gangs, with anybody, with the bank, if they're not going to support you and support your community, with the businesses, if they're not supporting you and your family and the communities. You have the right and the ability to collide at the highest levels to produce the results that you're looking for. But it always has to be in the pursuit of more power. Hey guys, I'm excited. Today was a great conversation. I hope you got something from it, and I hope you share it. Do me a favor. If there was a blessing that came out of this conversation, share it with someone who could use this conversation to become more powerful. Now, you can check us out on iTunes, you can catch us on Spotify, and we hope that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Rise of the Black Warrior. Just do a search for us and you'll find us on any of those methods. You can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook, all at Rise of the Black Warrior. And if you want to check out more about this podcast, go to our podcast page, which is podcast.riseoftheblackwarrior.net. We are .net for the podcast. All right, guys, remember, you are one decision away from changing your whole world. God bless everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.